You were born far too late to explore the world, born far too early to explore the galaxy, and yet you were born just in time to fight yet another war in the Middle East. And chances are, if you were going to do it, you were going to do it with one of these, an M4 carbine. Yet there's been a huge effort to try to replace this thing. You think that's going to happen? I don't think so. Let's talk about it. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Robert Arms. My name's Rob, and I'm the host of this channel. If you haven't already subscribed, you should probably do so now, and check out my Instagram profile at Robert Arms Official for any updates regarding this channel. Anyways, let's get started. The M4 carbine. Man, this is one hell of a rifle build. This, if you have a keen eye for it, either through memory or straight tism, like some of you cloners on Reddit, this is a M4 carbine that's, kind of a clone of the ones issued back in 2003-ish, 2004 during the Iraq and Afghanistan invasions. This has a lot of the OEM parts that would have probably been issued to this weapon, like the Comp M2, M951 Surefire Light, and the PEQ2 laser, and I love to use it at the range. I sure wouldn't want to use it in the current conflicts, though, because more than likely we're probably going to see this weapon yet again in Iran. Great. So let's talk about the M4 carbine just a little bit, right? Maybe some background and some history. So the M4 carbine is basically the workhorse of the US military and has been for decades. It's arguably one of the most effective and still recognizable weapons in the American arsenal. This thing was used widespread from the late 90s all the way through the global war on terror and of course continuing today, proving that this weapon is no joke as a fighting platform. But the story of the M4 actually starts much earlier. The rifle traces its lineage back to the AR-15 platform, designed by Eugene Stoner, of course, in the late 1950s. That design eventually became the M16 rifle, which served as the primary US service weapon during the Vietnam War. During Vietnam, soldiers quickly realized something. The full length of the rifle was great, until you had to climb in and out of helicopters, vehicles, and fight inside of buildings. The M16 and that 20-inch barrel has a bit of a length, so the military experimented with shorter carbines like the Colt XM177E1. God, that's a mouthful. They were compact, handy, and extremely popular with special forces operators, but they also had some reliability and ballistics issues thanks to the very short barrels. They were also pretty rough on internal components because of the high pressure gases. Then, if you fast forward to the 1980s, the Army wanted something that kept the reliability and firepower of the M16A2, but in a shorter, more maneuverable package. Colt would answer with what would essentially become the original M4 carbine, and I think these would be called XM4s. I could be wrong. It was essentially a refined version of an M16, featuring a 14.5 or 14.7 inch barrel, collapsible stock, and compatibility with the same 5.56 ammunition. By 1994, the Army would adopt the M4. At first, it was mostly intended for vehicle crews, paratroopers, and special forces operators. But once troops actually started to use it in real combat, especially in those tight urban environments, it became obvious that the shorter rifle had some pretty good advantages. By the early 2000s, during the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, the M4, just like that one, well, with the exception of the Marine Corps at first, had effectively become the standard issue rifle for most frontline US troops, and honestly, it's not hard to see why. The platform is lightweight, accurate, and reliable when maintained properly, and incredibly modular. I mean, it formed the basis of most carbine length AR-15s that you see here in the States. So, in other words, Eugene Stoner's design turned out to be the most adaptable small arms platform ever created. Go figure. So naturally, the US government, in its infinite wisdom, has spent the last several decades trying to replace it. Time and time again, the Department of Defense has poured millions, sometimes billions, of taxpayer dollars into programs aimed at simply replacing the M4 carbine with something better. And of course, like clockwork, every time these programs run into the same problems. They cost excessively high, they are a logistical nightmare, the designs are over engineered, or the improvements are just so minor that they simply don't justify replacing millions of perfectly functional rifles that are already in service. In other words, they're just trying to reinvent the wheel and spend a lot of money doing it. I mean, it's like going against every norm of wartime procurement. You would think a nation that already arms its soldiers with a reliable and effective rifle would prefer to focus on simply keeping the rifle running. But if there's one thing the government's really freaking good at, it's turning very little problems into very large expensive ones. So let's go ahead and look at some of the M4 replacement programs that have existed throughout the history of this weapon service to see how far they got with that. Now, I've got a list of notes here that I'll just read off of to make it simple to keep up with the information, because when I read this, I couldn't believe some of this stuff. The first one was the Advanced Combat Rifle Program from the late 80s and early 90s. That would have been the ACR program. This was the test that had the HK G11, which is a pretty cool gun, the Steyr ACR, the Colt ACR, and the AAI ACR. The whole goal of that program was to increase the hit probability of the M16A2 rifle by at least 100%, depending on like the farther ranges. It failed because none of those designs achieved the improved requirements. The flechette and caseless ammo some of those guns were using had reliability and durability issues, which isn't surprising, and the new ammunition types in general would require huge logistics changes to replace. And of course, the result of that program led to the M16 staying in adoption, including the M4 at the time. The next one was the Objective Individual Combat Weapon Program from the 90s to 2004, or labeled OICW. And that weapon was the XM29 OICW rifle. This concept was a combined rifle and programmable airburst grenade launcher. I guess the underbarrel grenade launcher for the M4 just simply wasn't enough. They wanted something even more complicated than that. It failed because the weapon was extremely heavy, around 18-ish pounds, holy shit. And it was overly complex with electronics and optics, expensive and difficult to maintain, and soldiers disliked the weight and overall size of the weapon, and the program was canceled in 2004. The next program was the XM8 Lightweight Assault Rifle program from 2002 to 2005, and I definitely remember the XM8. That was a great gun in Bad Company 2. Let's see how it did in real life. Simplified derivative of the OICW rifle component. Yeah, that makes sense because they look very similar in design, and they were both made by HK. And it was a modular platform meant to replace the M4, M16, and the SAW. And it failed because there wasn't that much of a significant improvement over the M4, and there were concerns about overheating, proprietary accessories, and logistical changes. And there was some political controversy over the procurement process. Well, Germany, that makes sense. And the budget priorities shifted during the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. That program was canceled in 2005. Still a really cool gun concept. It looks a lot like the G36 though. Interesting. The next one we got here was the individual carbine competition from around 2010 and 2013, and some major weapons that were submitted in that one are pretty recognizable. The HK 416, the Scar L, and the Remington ACR. Oh man. God, that was a cool gun, right? Colt also had the CM 901, and there were a few other companies that submitted their carbines for the M4 replacement. This seemed like the original, like, this might actually be the real replacement to the M4, but clearly did not seem like the military was fully interested in replacing the M4 with these weapons. It apparently failed because testing showed that improvements were too small to justify the replacement cost. Replacing millions of rifles would cost billions of dollars, and the Army concluded that simply upgrading the M4A1 via the SOP mod programs were sufficient, and it was canceled in 2013. Well, it's like this. The HK 416 is basically already adopted by the Marine Corps as the M27 IAR, which makes total sense. It's a great platform, and the SCAR has the SCAR H variant, which is used by, special forces. So, I mean, I don't think those programs were complete utter failures, but the whole intention was to replace that guy, and well, it just didn't happen, so technically it did. Of course, the last but not least program on this list was the NGSW program, or the Next Generation Squad Weapon. This was a very controversial one, and a lot of people had some pretty strong opinions about this whole situation, including myself, about the formal adoption of this whole new weapon system with a whole new ammunition type that clearly has a lot of intricate things involved with the entire design process and adoption and manufacturing process of this weapon, which I've had some shooting experience with. It's a soft shooting gun. It didn't feel particularly bad as a firearm. I think just the issues with the gun's engineering and the concept just doesn't make sense to me, at least just from as a civilian point of view, right? I'm not in the military. I don't know what the military truly needs because I never served. All right, I get that. But as a civilian and a firearm owner, and just an observer of just combat stuff and reading about the situations people get in, what I find interesting about it is that the Army or just the military in general's thought process about replacing the M4 with that thing, having a gun with a firearm cartridge that is so high pressure, it's like what, 80,000 psi? Like that is a massive explosion that weapon needs to chamber and launch that round. You need a weapon that has that high velocity for defeating modern body armor. If that is really the massive threat that our military is facing right now, and totally not like the massive drone swarms that our adversaries are creating around the world, I don't think reducing ammunition capacity, or making the weapon heavier to carry around, or having a more complicated manufacturing process for a whole new weapon that needs all new logistics with it is a very cost effective method of replacing the M4 carbine that we already have. So far, the costs of that, I didn't write down how much it costed, but I'm sure it's public information somewhere, have probably exceeded way more than what they should have when it came to adopting this weapon. And honestly, I think this particular weapon, even though it was adopted, might go the way of the M14. That's just my opinion on the matter. Will they ever replace the M4 carbine? Honestly, when World War III breaks out, it's like this. The best way to win wars is with technology and logistics. If you don't have both, you're kind of cooked. So we've seen evidence of that from World War II all the way up to this point right now. Anyway, that's just my opinion on the matter. I think that kind of wraps it up for me. If you enjoyed this video, or if I left anything out, please leave your thoughts in the comments about this whole kind of topic. This is going to be a very controversial one, and I'm sure I'm looking forward to see what you guys have to say about it. So I hope you guys like this video. Leave a like, share, and subscribe. And if you haven't followed already, check out my Instagram at Robert Arms Official for any updates regarding this channel. I hope you guys had a wonderful day. Stay safe, and I hope to see y'all in the next video.